It is Wednesday, the 13th of May. It's just a little past 7:30. And we've got Eunice, Corrie, Mishal, and Subhan online. And we're chatting about RES502. And there's a proposal that is due this Sunday. So if I could just very quickly share a screen with you. Not that one. I'll stop sharing. The screen share is paused. That's a good idea. Stop sharing. So screen share that one. And where am I going now? I don't know if this is going to work. I should have planned, but I didn't. Can you see my Google page?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see the beginning of Moodle?
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing well. Just yell if we don't get sync about what I'm trying to talk about. All right. So for this Sunday, I really am conscious that I haven't talked to you about this. And here we are a few days out. So 2,000 words, 20%. Now, I would emphasize to you that you've got the opportunity of getting 20% of your final mark this Sunday. Okay? So what would you put in there? You would put in a proposed title, bearing in mind it may change. It doesn't have, just because you put it in here now, it doesn't mean to say that's what it's actually going to be for the rest of your term. It can still be changed. The context, I hope we can get as finalized as we possibly can by now. So we're talking about a paragraph where you might explain whether, who's making the racket, Subhan?
Sorry.
Is it you? Put yourself on mute if you're just listening. Okay, that would be cool, brilliant. So context, where are you going to do your research? Is it a school? Is it a supermarket? What is it? Now, this next thing, the lit review, this is not all your lit review, it's a sample, and I have spelt survey wrong, so I need to change that. It's a bit of your literature review, just to give a taste of what you've been doing. So if you do nothing else this week, please do some good lit review, because it will really sharpen up your title idea. Proposed methodology, emphasis on the proposed. We've obviously got to work on that after this weekend, not now. But just have some thoughts. Is this going to be quantitative? Is it going to be interviews? Is it going to be what? You know, think about the methodology, a paragraph or two. Ethics disclaimer, I really hope none of you need to actually involve minors, and therefore you'll be able to do your one-page ethics statement, which is not your ethics application. It's a statement of why you would not be wanting to do the fully fledged ethics application. You need to look in here to see what the application form looks like, and particularly section 2 on children. And therefore, once you've seen that, you realize you don't want to go there and give a good statement as to why not. And really get stuck into EBSCO. That's going to be your best source for researching. And that's a nice place to start if you want to work out why not to use children. Okay, so a sample of references, 3, 4, 5, no more. Don't go bananas about that. I've told you the biggest thing is going to be a lit review and thinking about your title. So, who are we going to talk? We've had a bit of a chat with Subhan, but let's let him get into his house. He was driving, and we'll come back to him later in this time if we get time. I think, if I may say, Corrie, we had a chat this morning, and I'm pretty confident, if you don't mind the pun, that we're on to a winner. Yeah, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're going to do teacher confidence, which I think is really great. My only proviso at this point, really, for you would be that's a bit big still. Is it possible to dig into what is teacher confidence and hit an aspect or a couple of aspects of what makes confidence in a teacher? Have you had any
Right.
thoughts in the day about that?
Well, I kind of looked into some literature to see what I could find, but most of the stuff I can find as far as confidence is just mentioning like student teachers going through placement and growing in their confidence. But I was having a hard time finding any articles that mentioned like confidence and how that might help improve classroom behavior, like a direct correlation between like increased confidence and improving classroom management and that kind of thing.
Sure.
So I was trying to find something between the two.
But that would be really gold, you know. It would be, that would be a miracle. It would be fantastic. Yeah. Arguably, that's what your research would be.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, I would say very quickly, I would say to you, just because there's no literature on it doesn't mean to say you can't do it,
Right.
because it might be a perfectly valid means of measuring something like confidence, which is relatively objective. Especially if you can involve other people who are looking in on you and you're able to interact with them and get a more objective view of the benefits of increasing your levels of confidence.
Yeah, and I was also thinking of including, because I finished my third placement, including talking to teachers from along, because I worked with some, but because I actually did my last two placements at the same school, even though they were with different teachers, towards the end of my third one, I taught a few classes for Miss Sampson, and I worked with her and Miss Chambers in my second one. And so there was a gap between her seeing me teach in B and C, and she had made comments about how she could see like the improvements in the classroom. And I thought that kind of stuff maybe I can use because she's seen the progress and the change and how it affected the classroom.
Yeah, so that's an objective view on you, which is perfectly valid for you to include in your methodology.
Okay.
So, look, we did chat this morning, so I want to give some more time. Mishal. Now, I haven't talked to you today, have I? No. No. So where are you at, Mishal?
Placement.
Yeah. In terms of RES502.
Well, I spoke to some of my teachers and also to one of my friends. They said the same thing, that with the creativity. And I'm still stuck on, but I'm trying to reframe and dig into it. So what could be the proposal? But I'm pretty much sure that when I heard from others, the teachers who saw me back in India, and my friend who's...
You're frozen. Your friends.
Yeah.
Oh, you've come back. So we lost you for a bit.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm there.
You're back now, yeah.
Yeah.
We lost you with your friends in India.
Actually, so they said the same thing. Yes, they agree. I can get them. I have the research thing now, but I'm still struggling to get how to frame the right question.
I wouldn't, Mishal, I would not worry too much about a research question as such. It's more of a project.
Yes.
I'm not fussed about the wording ending in a question mark, because if you were doing conventional research, then yes, you have to have a research question or a thesis. But for action research, I'm not so fussed about that. And look, this is a proposal this week. It doesn't have to be fancy language. It can be rough, and I suspect it will be rough. But when you talk about creativity, my reaction is that that's a very big thing. And how on earth would you measure it? Yes, you can see a teacher who's got a lot of creativity, but yeah, no, I'm a little bit struggling with that at the moment.
Yes, the link that the reference that you sent me through, so it actually covered few of the aspects that I wanted to focus on through the classroom, how to teach in high school, the classroom interactions, and also the relationship with the students. In particular, I would like to cover those areas as well, because
but which one do you feel most passionate about?
To be honest, like when we go to high school teaching, some people say that it's important to have the relationships to involve students into the lesson and to involve their engagement and to reach the deserved outcomes. So I'm more keen on that relationship with the students.
Yeah, well, if I might say, one of the hallmarks of your teaching is the way that you can get a relationship with kids.
Yes.
So that, you know, I would be very happy for you to work on that strength, to if you like, to help you understand how it, rather than it just happening and you think, oh wow, fantastic, I'm able to relate to this class, but be more intentional about how to engage a class. So yeah, I'm gonna, that, I think that's worthy of me writing myself a little note. Subhan is backing his truck into his house. Relationship with kids.
I'm still on mute.
Oh, you're still mute. Oh well, somebody else was imitating your truck. Look, Mishal.
Yes.
Look, just dwell on that for a minute. Don't go away, obviously. Eunice.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Mine is, what are some effective ways of providing verbal feedback to high school ESL students?
Hang on. Sorry, say again.
What are some effective ways of providing verbal feedback to high school ESL students?
Yeah, that's definitely in the form of a question. So let me play with that phrase a little bit. The value of verbal feedback. Now that's a thing, if you like. That's a upfront. That's something you can do
in a high school.
Yeah, in a high school.
Should I narrow it?
Yeah, ESL. Yeah, high school. But when you say the value, that's huge. How on earth would you measure the value? Is there some way of putting in that wording something that you could measure? Verbal feedback relationship to well, I'm just playing. I'm just brainstorming. Verbal feedback's relationship with
so
student relationships, student
verbal feedback and academic performance.
But that's big again. I don't think in a matter of weeks you could get through to measuring
Right.
the impact of verbal feedback on academic performance.
Okay.
That's a massive question. So let me backtrack. Verbal feedback. I've got verbal feedback in my sights, in my crosshairs.
Yeah.
Where are you? Why are you thinking of where could you possibly get some data? What context are you thinking about? And any chance of you getting back to Australia anytime soon? And would you be allowed into the country?
Yeah, no, probably not until they lift border restrictions.
So you're
So-
basically in Singapore for this term. Yeah. So, okay, this is interesting. And now, when you're in Singapore, what context could you possibly do your research in?
Yeah, because I was actually looking back at previous pracs, and
Good.
I was just thinking, because I was doing a reading program with some ESL, like new arrivals to Australia last term, and I realized that every time I gave feedback, they were still reading the words wrong. So maybe I would say, oh, good reading today. I would say good reading today, but I think one teacher picked up on that and she said, hey, that's not specific enough. You need to say why. So I should have said, oh, I really like that you remembered your EDs. Or I really like that you remembered to use the soft G instead of the hard G sound. Kind of.
So being very specific, yeah.
Yeah, so she did point out that I needed to be really specific with
Sure.
one thing being specific. The second thing was me trying to always interrupt. So every time they were reading and they read something wrong, I would just say S, like remember your S, or I would say hard G or soft G. So I would interrupt and it disrupts the flow of the reading. So those were two things that were picked up on. But then again, I was thinking I'm doing that because it's timely. I need to tell them in a timely fashion. If not, then they would, if I say, hey, do you remember in the second paragraph you said this word? And so that's why I'm trying to give it in a timely manner. But the other teachers saw that as interrupting and disrupting the flow. So I'm not very sure. Maybe I could work on that.
So this was a teacher in Sydney.
Yeah.
Are you still in contact with this teacher?
Yeah.
So you could have a Zoom or Skype with them?
I could have a Zoom meeting with them, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even just email.
So you could set up some research questions, 4 or 5, open-ended questions that you could then email to them first, and then have a 10-minute, 15-minute session with them and ask those questions, which is actually getting them to give you more specific feedback on this whole topic of, are you still there, Eunice?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could set up a qualitative semi-structured interview with your teacher friend in Sydney,
Yeah.
and that would be perfectly legitimate data gathering.
Is that my no? The context? So the context, do I use my previous
Well,
class?
hang on. You see, I'm just thinking, if that interview with your teacher from Sydney could establish the baseline where you were at then, okay, then on the basis of all your feedback from 500B, all the written feedback you got, if you could go through all the PDFs of all those forms and analyze those written comments for anything to do with you giving feedback, right? So
Yeah.
as well as your own observational journals, as well as your, which is valid as a data source, you could establish a ground basis for where you're at now. And this is your current situation in terms of giving feedback to ESL students in high school. Then you could, okay, all right, if that's where I'm at, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to improve this? And then you could draw up a model of, and use the literature on verbal feedback to give you tips and tricks and ideas, build up a model. Now the question would be, where is there a context in Singapore that you could use that model, test it? I'm talking about, you know, not necessarily live because of COVID, but is there somebody or group of people that you could actually work with and trial out your new techniques?
Okay.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So, and that would be ample field work, that would be ample research for you to do. And then when you've done that, the trick would be, is there somebody who could observe you running this trial? It maybe if you did some work with a student, an ESL student in Singapore, and you then after the fact, and you had the mum present when you were doing this one-on-one lesson or something, if you had a parent with them and not saying a word but just watching, and then after the fact you then interview them on how did I go, what could I do to improve? You with me? And I think this whole question of whether or not you should interrupt and correct, or whether you should keep silent, I think that is a really very important question. It's all to do with the question of your relationship with the student, how much confidence. You see, if you are correcting everything, you're going to make the student feel that they're always a failure and they're always dropping every single S, or they're getting the soft G's wrong or something. Whereas, you know, if I may be blunt in this company, you are a very bright girl, and maybe because you're so quick to learn, maybe you could have techniques of just letting that go through to the keeper. Yeah, I know it's wrong, but I'm not going to say a word, because you're more interested in building their confidence up than you are in correcting everything every time they do it, because that could sap their confidence. It's a bit, I suppose the analogy I have is going fishing. I don't know whether it helps. You know, I'm no good at fishing, but if you just let the float go until it's ready to catch the fish, you know, you don't want to be pulling all the time, otherwise you won't get anything. Anyway, just a thought. Look, I think the value of verbal feedback on maintaining student-teacher relations.
Okay.
I really like that. I'm excited. You don't need a fancy question. It's not that sort of research. But this is what you're exploring, the value of verbal feedback in student-teacher relations. Oh, man.
Yeah.
You've got a 9 out of 10 for that. Next. No, yeah. But the verbal feedback for high school students. Yes, your context is ESL. That's the context. The high school student is the context where you're particularly going to be putting this into practice, sure. But I wouldn't necessarily float that into the title.
Okay.
Look, we've got more to chat, but let's move on. Now, MacBook. How has an iPhone turned into a MacBook, Subhan?
Because I arrived home and changed from iPhone to MacBook, so much
That is
easier.
very clever. That yeah, you've lost me completely. Come on, let's see your face. Come on, see if you've got.
Oh, I'm not too presentable. I just arrived. 15 minutes. 15 minutes break only in 10 hours shift.
Look, do you think we're going to see anything on the screen? It's not that fancy resolution. I want to see your. I want to see your. I want to see your. What do you call it? That's it. Body language.
Body
So
language.
If we can't see you, we can't see your body language.
All right.
Okay, come on. What are we going to do with you?
You tell me.
No, you tell me.
So, yeah, engagements, which was the issue, and
Is big.
in the context of socioeconomic,
Yeah.
low socioeconomic school with the students with behavioral issues. So
Yeah, that
I'm
is
not
big.
gonna. Yeah. So
We
how
need to
to
squash
narrow
it.
it down.
Narrow.
And the thing is that I don't have my placement till, I don't know, term 4 or 5.
I know. So that's not an issue. We're going to do this. Come on. Tell me about your relationship with the people at work.
So they given me responsibility since 2 weeks ago, and so I'm trying to be professional and
For how many people? Where has Western Australia gone?
He disappeared.
He's disappeared.
But
He left.
You couldn't take it. We were being too personal. Oh, he's coming back.
what happened there?
Did you go for a shower?
Yes, of course.
Is that what you did?
My laptop just switched off for some reason. I don't know. Very
Oh, it
strange.
must be the poor electricity supply you've got in your
Yeah.
house.
No, it's 70%. Anyway, so what were we talking about? Oh,
How many staff have you got?
So there are like 10 people throughout the week. But some people, I see them, some they work when I'm not on the shift. So yeah, so basically 7.
You're frozen. What is, if you can hear me, what is your responsibility towards them?
There if they need me, but I set my expectations high, and so bit of both, like a bit serious, and also at the same time, if they're doing a good job, I'll praise them and thank them as well. So not trying to be too kind in the beginning and not too serious.
Well, isn't that a bit like your relationship with students in the classroom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look,
But
you're really brave.
less being funny, and because like with year 7 and 8 and all that, you can be more like, it's more like your inner child, whereas with 28 or 29 you more mature in terms of
Yeah,
your.
but I think that's quite an important point, because if you're trying to be one of the lads with year 7, I think they will find that hard to take from a teacher. They expect a teacher to have some, not to be an ogre in my way or the highway, but to have a distance. I would say, and you can shoot me down, all of you, I would say you're not your student's friend.
Well, same with my workplace. So
That's right.
So it's the
You
same.
can be friendly, but you're not their friend.
Yeah. So that's the same thing. But the issue with my class in my last placement was year 10. So they were, I don't know how old, but they were quite big, all big students, and not listening to me and all over the place. So to be honest, my favorite years throughout all my practice were year 7 and 8. Year 10 I found most challenging, even in my good school. So again, engagement thing. And my placement supervisor said the same, like you have to find a way to specifically engage your year 10s. So how to narrow it down? I don't want it to be a sort of a research focused question. It's an action research again. And I have to have an interest, because if it's going to be like personal, then I can write 8,000 words. But if it's like a research question, then
look, oh man, this is so exciting. Fashion management, year 10. How many people did you say you got at the supermarket?
Between 7 to 10.
7 to 10. And what age are they?
From 20 to 40.
And how old are you?
33, almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have one staff who I think is autistic or got learning difficulty. So just one person that comes once a week, only 3 hours. And I noticed that if I tell him a few things, he will get frustrated, like information overload.
So you have to give one thing at a time. Yeah. Well, look, Subhan, I think I've got some more ideas. I'm thinking that the time is, I said half an hour, and I don't want to abuse your evening, people. So, and some of you are teaching. So I need to let you go. I think I might wrap it up now. For you, Subhan, I'm thinking of putting some words together on an email.
Or maybe we can talk tomorrow if you don't mind.
And certainly, we can do that tomorrow. But I'm thinking I wouldn't mind jotting a few ideas down in writing now. Before I sign off for the night. I've just seen Corrie come on screen. Welcome. The funny thing is that Corrie was doing 502, RES502 last semester. Is that right?
Yes.
And you got it got delayed, and because of your placement, yes?
Yes.
And so that's why you're here into this semester with that. You couldn't carry on doing your research without the placement, and now you've run into the COVID thing, which is very interesting. So Kenichi's not actually enrolled in this Moodle shell, but he's in the previous one. So it's all fun and games. So I haven't actually caught up with Kenichi really until now, and I just remembered that because I'm sending out the invites through Moodle. Of course, he doesn't get them, so I sent him a separate one, and thankfully he's found it. So look, let me write something up for you, Subhan, tonight. We'll talk tomorrow, God willing. And I'll talk to Lauren tomorrow, and I think we're getting there. You just focus on your lit review. Lit, and pray for a piece of gold lit literature, okay? That's what you're really going for. The title can be fiddled around with. Don't get too hung up on that, but try imagining yourself focusing on as small a project as you possibly can do, because we've only got a few weeks to do it.
Just one before you go. I'm working tomorrow 9:30 to 6:30 Western Standard Time, so I can talk if you're free from 7 to 9, or maybe on the way to work So again, 7 to 9:20, which will be 9 to 11:20 your time.
9 to 11, my time.
Yeah. So
All right.
if you're happy, I'll.
Yes, I can be. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Bye then. Don't forget, I love 1-9 emails, and if you don't get a reply, just send it again.
Just